Hey guys, Super Retro Kid here. So, I just got a new package. This is from Australia, a modder named BennVenn. And what he's come out with is a drop-in replacement backlit screen for the Gameboy Color. So, kind of the history behind this is a few years ago, there was a seller in China who took a Game Boy Color and put a Game Boy Advance SP screen in it, an AGS 101 screen. And what he did was he cut a bunch of the original shell out, and then he took the AGS 101 screen, and instead of having it horizontally, he rotated it so it was vertical inside of here. And then he made his own board that would make it so that it would be masked to the original Game Boy screen. So since then, there's been AGS 101 mods by BennVenn and McWill and other people where they've taken these AGS 101 screens and they've had it where you have to cut a bunch of stuff out of the shell and solder a bunch of points, and then you're able to have a backlit screen. But what this mod is this is called the Freckle Shack, and this is the first drop-in replacement that BennVenn has done where you're not required to do any soldering. So what I believe he did, and part of the reason that everyone wants a backlit screen on their Game Boy Colors is because the current mods that were out before this were frontlit mods, and the frontlit mods looked really washed out. So they weren't very good. A lot of people thought that they made them look blurry and washed out. So now there's a true backlit mod. And the real trick to this was sourcing the new panels that fit in here. And what McWill and BennVenn are doing with these drop-in replacements is they're actually using a screen that is slightly smaller than the original screen. So on my Game Boy Color right now, this is a original stock Game Boy Color. So this is an original shell and everything. The only thing that I've replaced on this Game Boy Color to this point is the lens. So this lens was purchased, gosh, I can't think of the name. This was purchased, when you go to BennVenn's site to buy the Freckle Shack, there's a link to buying new lenses. And so the original lens is glass, and this one, or plastic, and this one's glass. The other thing is, this one is sized appropriately for the Freckle Shack's smaller screen. So if I fire this up, right now I still have the original screen in here. So you'll kind of see how some stuff is cut off. Let me try to get this in frame here. It's kind of hard to see. There's not a whole lot of light. If I go to games, yeah, you're not really going to be able to see that. But currently with the original screen in there, it cuts off stuff on the left and right because Jelly Belly Customs is where you buy the lens. But since I still have the original screen in there, you kind of see how much smaller the new screen's going to be because it cuts off stuff on the left and right. And one of the things I want to see when I'm done with this is there's a guy named Sterling in the RGB or Retro RGB Discord channel who was saying that he installed the McWill and it was cutting off stuff on the right hand side. So I'm kind of interested to see if BennVenn's does that as well. So I'm going to start doing the mod here. So the mod's pretty easy. It's all solderless. So I'm just going to open this up and get the Game Boy apart. So taking a Game Boy apart is pretty easy. All you need is a small Phillips and a small tri-wing. So I think there's like there's a few tri-wings here. So I'm just going to take these out. Okay, so there's 4 tri-wings and 2 regulars on the back. And this is a stock, I think it's Atomic Purple Game Boy Color, or no, this is a blue Game Boy Color. This was like a Toys R Us exclusive model. I bought it off of eBay. There's a guy who said it was sitting on a shelf being unused for a long time, so it's pretty much in mint condition, but it's all factory, at least other than the lens so far. But I'm about to replace the screen, because I personally find the Game Boy Color to be the most comfortable of the Game Boys to hold, you know, with adult hands. Those Game Boy Advances just like cramp in my fingers. So I still have 1 screw in there, but I'm gonna do these 2 in the battery compartment right now. Oh, those are actually tri-wings as well. I guess there's 6 tri-wings. I think it's on the actual motherboard that there's. So I'm just kind of setting these out on the table, like in the formation that they're in the system. So I put the appropriate ones back where they were. And I think I have all the tools I need. I just have a little wire snips, some electrical tape. All the Game Boy modders use Capcom tape. I just have electrical tape. It'll do the same thing for me. Okay, so there's my shell. I'm gonna put that up there. And then I'm gonna undo these 3 screws, which all look like they are regular Phillips. They're just small Phillips. But before I do that, I'm just gonna pop these latches on the ribbon cable up. There's 1 latch on each side. And then after you pop them up, the ribbon cable will come out pretty easily. I'm not going to pull the ribbon cable, because once I take the motherboard off, I can just slip it up, because I don't want to tear that ribbon cable or damage the slot. I guess the ribbon cable doesn't matter so much because I have a new screen, but the slot's really going to matter. So let's take this. The other thing to be careful about is getting any dust in between the screen and the lens when you do this. I'm going to be very careful about that, because I don't want to drive myself nuts. And I'll hopefully never take this thing apart again. Okay, so there's that. And then I've undone, and then I undid these 2 guys, so the ribbon cable would just come out. So I'm going to take my motherboard and just put it up there. I'm going to take the power switch out. So then you have the screen, the buttons with their pads, and the lens. And the way that I like to get the screen out is I just take this and twist it, kind of like an ice cube tray. That's really the best way to get the screen out. But I'm going to leave the screen in for a second, because I'm about to look at the Freckle Shack first. Oh, lost a peanut. Okay, so I'm going to take this, throw away my packing peanuts. And this was in the box, I don't know, looks like it's just cardboard. So here is my Freckle Shack. So what the Freckle Shack consists of is the LCD, a board, and a couple 3D printed pieces that help you put it in the correct place. Help you get the screen in the correct place. And I'm kind of surprised there weren't any instructions. Fortunately, I've watched a couple YouTube videos, so I think I know what I have to do. I think there's still a little bit of trimming that has to be done on the shell. I'll find out if things don't seem to match up right, then I'll do the trimming. one, there's a new sticker back there that says Game Boy Light. I don't really care about that though. I think I'd rather leave my stock one on here. It's just another sticker to not get on right. Plus I'd rather keep it more authentic than less. But it's nice that they included it. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so there's the Game Boy Light sticker. Here's the LCD, and here's the board. Okay. And then here are the 3D printed spacers. So a couple things that I want to do. Okay, 3D printed pieces, let's get them out. Okay, so here are the 3D printed pieces. Mine's got a little bit of an excess on it, so I'm gonna get that off of there. Feel this one, got a little excess, cut that off. Okay. And maybe I'll keep this for my original screen. Now, let me just kind of put this here. Okay, so I can tell just looking at this that I'm going to have to do some cutting. So I'm going to rock this back and forth a little bit. I don't want to take my Jelly Belly screen off, but I want to get this guy off. So I'm going to take this guy, put him inside the bag. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make 2 cuts. One there, one here, and maybe I'll make some more. It would probably be better if I had like an X-Acto knife here, but I don't. And I'm going to take my needle nose, go just kind of, I'm going to grab towards the top. I'm just going to rock back and forth until it breaks nice and clean. You don't want to force it, and you definitely don't want to scratch that screen or that lens. Okay, there's that piece. That came off perfect. Then this piece, let me grab it a little further down. Perfect. This last piece. Oh, grabbing it too far down. So I'm going to grab it towards the end. Just kind of get it loose. Okay, and then I just have a little bit here where it didn't come off quite so clean. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Perfect. So I have that trimmed up. And I want to keep that super clean. So now what else do I got to do? I got to... I'm going to set this aside. All these little points right here, you got to snip down. So I'm just going to do them one by one. Part honestly seems kind of dumb. These don't stick out that far. I guess a little ways. And after I do this, I'm going to just kind of shake it off over my garbage. Yeah, and these are just kind of flying all over the place, but okay, so I'm just gonna dump them over the garbage, away from the speaker, because they'll stick to this, the internal speaker of the Game Boy. Now what I'm gonna do, a little electrical tape time. And take a piece, perfect. You want to go across these contacts. This is where people use their fancy Capcom tape. See, the problem here is, though, you don't want to be obstructing these holes, these screw holes, to get the shell back on. So I just cut a little bit of the electrical tape to expose that screw hole. I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's just trim this up. Perfect. So now both of these screw holes are still available. So when we put the case back on, we want this baby to be sturdy. Okay, so now, let me think about this for a second. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put another piece of electrical tape on the back side of the Freckle Shack's PCB here. We want to cover these pins. And then, let me think here. So you take this is going to go like that. And then that is going to be against this. So we're not really worried about this shorting anything, especially with these. But what we do want to do is we want to cover up these capacitors and stuff here, because they're going to have their back to the screen. So there's two ways to do that. Either we can take electrical tape and cover this board, or we can cover the back of the LCD. I think I'm going to cover this board because I want to mess with the LCD as little as possible. So I'll get this back in view. I'm going to just kind of clean up my work surface here a little bit. Got some of those little metal pieces. I don't want those flying around anything important. Okay. So I'm going to trim this electrical tape. Okay, so how long is this? About that long. So I'm going to take this and just trim it to length. So now I've got a nice piece of electrical tape to put along these capacitors. And I'm just going to try to cover up everything on the back of the board. So I don't think heat is an issue. I just think that shorting something could be an issue. So I got that piece down. I'm going to cover up the other side of these I'm going to go a little bit further down, but I want to leave this ribbon connector open because that's what the LCD actually connects to. Let's do this. Doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to cover what it needs to cover. I'm going to cover those little resistors and stuff too. Okay, so I'm going to cover these guys. And then I want to cover, I don't know that these are a problem, but I'm going to cover them anyway. I also want to cover the rest of this. I'm not sure what it would be called, if it's called some sort of chip back here. Let me cover this chip. And here it says Freckle Shack, for Freckle Shack, BennVenn.com. I'm going to cover this guy. Actually, I could probably just put it going around it. Everything's going to be in there pretty tight, so just got to make sure that this connector is available. So that's where our LCD's connecting to. I'm insulating everything here. Okay. So I've got everything insulated. Now, let me think about how this goes. So, let's see. Here's my screen. So my screen is going to go in. Well, first thing, let's do this. I'm just gonna kind of do this, make sure there's nothing, make sure none of those little metal bits got in there. And I got my two 3D printed pieces. One's gonna go, the fatter one is going on the right hand side, and the skinnier one is going on the left hand side, I believe. I'm just going to kind of put this in there, see if that looks right. How does this look? That looks way wrong. So let's get it back out. These must be opposite. Let's try it again. It's pretty tight. I mean, it's not easy to get it in with the 3D printed pieces in there. I'm just gonna do that. It's not meant to go like that. Let's get this guy out. I think this needs to be cut a little bit here. Trying to get it in there, but not using too much force, especially since this isn't for good yet. That is lined up correctly. So let's pull this back out. Okay. So I want to make sure that this thing is clean. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to hold this up to the light, take a look at it here. Okay, that looks pretty darn clean. So now there's a film. Okay, so first I'm going to put these 3D printed pieces. I'm going to put the big one on the left. And then I'm going to take the protective little thing off of the screen. So this is going in here for good now. Well, gosh, and should I put it in the ribbon connector first? Let me think of how this works here. So I'm thinking it goes does this bend over? Bends over, goes like that, in. Yeah, I think that's how you do it. Let me think about this here. It's almost like this guy, it's almost like this guy's on backwards. So you go like that. I think you'd have to go like this. Yeah, you go like this. So does this guy move? Nope. So let's just go straight in. I don't know how though. Oh, okay, this is like a locking thing. Okay, and I've got my contacts on that side. So you just put this there, and then you lock this down. So now it's in there. Then I fold this over. Okay. So then what I want to do is I want to put it in like this. So I'm going to take the screen protector off. For real this time. So I have my beautiful screen exposed. Just going to stick that on the table. Then I'm going to take this. It's going to go like that. But right now I just want to get the screen down. I'm going to lay it down and get my 3D printed piece in here. Just going to push down on the 3D printed piece with my screwdriver. Get it real flush in there. Hopefully it's flush against the top. It looks like it is. So let's turn it over and look. That looks perfect as far as the masking of the Jelly Belly screen. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to push down, this is a little different. I feel like, I guess that works. It actually feels, oh, I think I was supposed to cut out some of the side. But I'm not going to. I'm just gonna do it like this. I think maybe I'm supposed to cut out a notch there, but I don't think I have to. I don't think it's gonna matter. So what I'm gonna do now is take my PCB or my motherboard. I'm just gonna put it on here. Oh, and of course it all moves on me. I don't know what the best technique is for this. Okay, let's just put it. Probably the best technique now is just to put some screws in here. Okay, so I'm going to take these 3 regular ones and put them back in here. Oh. Just gonna do the center one because I don't want to change my grip instead of the left one. Okay, now the right one. I mean the left one. Okay, so I got these bottom ones in. Everything looks okay from the front. Buttons feel good. Make sure you put your power switch back in. Uh-oh, what's going on here? There it is, I think. Yep, perfect. Now on this guy, you want to make sure these are up, which I believe they are. Then I want to bend this over. So I'm going to do this. Make sure both of these black ones are down. This is going to be a fun part. There might have been a better way to do this. I'm just going to try to kind of push on this ribbon. There we go. And then you push down on each of these black tabs. You want to be careful and you want to do it evenly, as to not break the mechanism, because this is all that holds this ribbon in. And I actually want to push on this a little more. Yeah, it looks like it's in all the way. Come on. Don't want to use too much pressure, but okay, I think that's good. Now, we just put the back casing on. It's a little fat up top, but when I screw it down, it should all come together. I've still got my screws in the same arrangement. Since it is a little fatter, I'm going to do these screws, alternating. I'm going to start with the top. I'm going to start with the top left. Screw this guy in. Okay. Just get it hand tight, not over tight. And do this other screw. Just doing kind of a crisscross pattern. Oh, that's not the screw hole. That's where your lanyard goes. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with a lanyard on a Game Boy, but okay. And then we've got another screw over here. This one fell out. I'm holding the shell tight while I do this. This is why we trimmed that stuff and put the electrical tape on the stuff, because it's all tight in there. Those 3D printed pieces seem to really help lining up the screen. That could have been a nightmare. I'm almost tempted to do that sticker just because it has the light, and I've got the light on the front. I don't see anything under the screen or anything. Let me put my batteries in. Uh-oh. Something's going on here. I can't go on. And I'm not going to force it. So, I'm just going to open it back up. I must have put that on switch on wrong. Either that or everything's too tight. I mean, this is a pretty easy mod, but you don't wanna. I mean, you want to take your time, especially since I'm doing this on a pretty mint original Game Boy. This is an original shell and everything. Gonna take this back off and look at what's going on with that power switch. Worst thing you could do is try to force that power switch into the on position. I'm guessing that I don't have it on the switch. Probably have the piece of plastic not on it. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm just going to take it off. So this guy moves, no problem. So does it go like this? See, I think it's having a hard time getting underneath something in here. See, I think what I need to do is put this in the top position and then put it on. And that kind of confuses me because that's doing it, but it's not actually moving this. I think maybe this is pushed up too much. So if I put that down, okay, now it's working. So I gotta somehow keep this tight when I put it back together. It's hard to explain, but the mechanism that gives you that is not the same as what moves it. So I gotta try to apply pressure while I do this. So I'm just gonna okay, so I'm gonna start with this top left one, because that's where the power switch is aligned. Okay, so let's just tighten that guy. Now let's tighten this perpendicular one. Let's tighten this one down here. So this one would also have to do with that power switch. Now, perfect. So at least this time, if I have a problem, it'll be a different problem. Tighten this guy. This guy's tightened. That guy's tightened. Tighten these. In the battery compartment. We were so close. Okay, I'm gonna put the batteries back in. Put the, oh, turned on. Screen looks good. Screen looks beautiful. There is a little bit of the top. So I wonder if I'm cutting off on the bottom. It's not real noticeable though. Try to get this where you guys can see it. So this is now with the Freckle Shack installed. And this is Super Mario Land DX. So this is a Gameboy Color version of Super Mario Land that someone made. I'm not really sure what a good way for me to tell if it's cutting off the right hand side or not would be. Let me turn it off and turn it back on here. It's definitely in frame on the right because you get that first G from games. See, and I don't feel like I don't know if there would be another character. Well, let's look here. Well, dash space 6 USA. It doesn't look like it's, you know, .gb. It doesn't look like it's cutting off anything on the right. I feel like this is pretty perfect on the right. There's maybe a little bit on the top, but you know, the bottom looks good too though. I mean, like we get that, the bottom of that P, and that E is right on the line. So I think maybe this guy I think maybe this guy's in here. Perfect. So let's try, let's see, let's try Tetris. It's kind of hard for me to play it and stay in frame. I feel like this is in frame. I think those 3D printed spacers really work well in determining where it is. Like you don't like that in the lower right here, or even in the level or the line sections, you see the stuff on the right hand side. So I really don't think that it's cutting off stuff like the McWill was. And I don't know for sure that the McWill does, I just know that Sterling in the Retro RGB Discord, he was showing how the McWill was cutting off stuff on the right in his install. You know, assuming that it was installed properly. So this is the BennVenn Freckle Shack with the Jelly Belly Customs glass screen in a stock Gameboy Color. And it's super cool. So I'm not sure how long this video is, how long that install took me. It probably took me a little longer than they advertised, and that's about par for the course with this stuff. But I hope you install this I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned from it, and if you're doing the install, hopefully you can take some tips from it. And thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day. Bye.